So I was hoping I wouldn't have to get shady and do one of these kind of videos, but here we are. Hello everyone, so as you can see, today I'm going to be talking about the music industry and contracts, and specifically what has happened with Taylor and her previous record label in the last day. So I woke up to a lot of random tweets about some scooter person. I had no idea what was going on because in Australia we wake up and things have just happened when we've been asleep. And so basically I'm just gonna make a disclaimer, as I do on the start of all of these videos, is I have read up and I have researched all this, yet I do not have the best brain, and so some of these things, although I have actually researched it, I do apologize if I accidentally get something wrong. Also, when I get on camera, I sometimes kind of don't know how to talk anymore and say things, and then I'm editing and get a bit confused as to what I was saying, so just that first. So if you're really interested in this type of thing, definitely go read up on it as well, because it's interesting but awful, of course. Pretty much the music industry isn't as happy as we think it is, I guess. Obviously I'm not in it, so I don't fully know all this, but there's a lot of business and contracts and all this stuff behind the cool music that we hear on the radio, and unfortunately a lot of it is not great. Okay, I'm gonna try and sum up the whole Taylor thing that I woke up to this morning. So pretty much I went on Twitter and I saw all these people dissing some guy called Scooter. I had no idea who this was, and so I kind of just read up on it and tried to find out what had happened when I had been asleep. So basically, a few months to a year ago, I can't remember the exact date, Taylor posted saying she made the decision to change labels. So she has been with Big Machine Records since she was 15. She was their first signed artist, I'm pretty sure, and yeah, so she's released 6 albums with them. We all knew her contract was about to end after Reputation, and so we were all speculating whether she would stay with Big Machine or not. I think a lot of people thought she would stay with them, mainly because we didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes. She hadn't spoken about it, no one really had, which is fair enough, it's not something we need to know, but it was very secretive, and Taylor always seems to keep a lot of the same people around in her career. So since she was young, she's had mostly the same band, she's had a lot of the same friends and dancers on tour. She's kept some of them for multiple tours, so it's kind of like we all expected her to just stay with Big Machine because we didn't really think there were any issues that we knew about. So when she did sign with a new label, I think a lot of us were quite surprised, because we're like, oh okay, you know, this is cool, but we didn't expect it, and now it's all coming out why that happened. So she did write a big thing when she did release that she was going with a new label, and a few things were saying that she doesn't own her master. So a master file is just like all her songs, like finished songs and stuff, don't actually belong to her, which to a lot of people might seem pretty weird, because you know, if someone writes a song and produces it and sings it and does all this stuff with it, you'd expect that would be their song. Whereas a lot of the time, unfortunately, labels actually own that song. So if the label says, actually, we don't like this song, we don't want to release it, that's up to them. The artist can't say, oh, actually, I do want to, because that's going against their contract. Now, every contract's different, obviously, so some aren't like that, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, pretty much the label owns every single song she's done, you know, from her self-titled album until Reputation. And she wasn't really happy about that, but it was like, okay, and so she decided to change labels. Because at the new label, she can own everything. So everything she records is hers, although it's still releasing it under that label, and obviously they'll still make money from it, but the master files and the songs are hers. Now this is good. I haven't read fully into the new contract. I did read into it a little bit when it first came out, and it was a lot better, I think. Again, I don't really know a lot about this, although I did study music and sound at university, and we did go over contracts a little bit, but it was so rough that I didn't really learn a whole lot from that. So yeah, pretty much they own her stuff, so she moved. Now, we found out recently, or today, that Big Machine Records actually gave her an option. They said, okay, if you sign with us again, like sign another contract once yours is up, we will eventually give you all your music and it's yours, like you own it. But, you know, then they'll own the new stuff. So I think what I saw was when she releases a new album, she'll get her first album and that will be hers. And then she'll do another one, and over time she'll get all her old records, but then the new ones will still be under them. So it was pretty much just saying, stay with us and we'll give you stuff, or leave and we still have it. And personally, it does look a bit like they're just trying to still make money off her. I don't know about you guys, but she is definitely the biggest artist on this label, and I personally believe that if she wasn't on the label, they probably wouldn't have a whole lot of success. And if she leaves and they give her her music, then they will no longer be making money off her, and they will no longer be doing as well as they are now. And although I think there are a few artists on there, like it's more country, but they're not as big as Taylor, and so I definitely don't think they'll have as much success without her. So I almost feel like this was their way of saying, we still need to make money and keep running, but we can't do that without her, so we need to somehow pin her down or keep her music so we can still make millions off her. So that's my opinion on that. That's not even half of it. So Scott Borchetta, who was the owner, I'm pretty sure, and who started Big Machine Records, he wanted to sell it for a while, and he, recently sold it to this Scooter guy, which is where he comes in. But it turns out Scooter is not the nicest person. He has managed multiple celebrities and been apparently really rude and abusive and just really not cool. And apparently he's been very vocal about how much he doesn't like Taylor. He's good friends with Kanye West and a whole lot of that, and apparently they would openly bully Taylor together. So obviously we haven't seen any of this, so we don't know, but a lot of people have stepped up, including Todrick, Taylor's good friend, and he said he was so happy to get out of some kind of contract or something with Scooter, and didn't work with him anymore. And I think, a lot of people are coming out and saying how bad he was, so I do believe them. And now he owns the rights to all her music so far, apart from obviously the 2 songs of Lover and stuff, because that's with the new label. Having her music in the hands of someone who bullies her and can now do whatever he wants with it is pretty bad. Also, the fact that he's now making hundreds of millions of dollars off of her music when she doesn't really see any of it. If that is considered okay, then what? It doesn't make sense to me. So unfortunately, I don't know what she can do. If it's in the contract, it's in a contract. It's legal. It's not something you can just be like, oh, this is illegal, we'll take it to court, because technically if it's in the contract, they own it. That's how it is. So pretty much now all her music is under a bad name. If we stream her music, if we, I don't know, stream it on Spotify, Apple Music, buy it, whatever, all the money's going to these bad men who are profiting off of an entertainer and a writer, when that is quite upsetting. The sad thing is, this isn't the first time this has happened. This happens in the music industry more than we think. I think this one has been massively blown up as well, especially because Taylor is one of the biggest artists in the world, and so of course, you know, we're gonna see a lot of it because she's massive, she's in the media constantly, and so it's kind of become a lot bigger than a lot of the other situations, but it does happen a lot. I know, especially with Kesha, I don't know the full details. I have actually looked it up, but I couldn't really find what I needed. But from what I remember, so she came out and said Dr. Luke had sexually abused her. So that is not a good thing. And of course she wouldn't want to be with a record label having to work with this guy who abused her. But when she went to court, as far as I remember, of course it's a woman, people thought, oh yeah, you're just being silly, like you were asking for it, that you're the kind of person. Of course, because that's always what happens in those trials, right? But as far as I remember, they tried to get her to stay with Sony Music and continue her contract with Dr. Luke until her contract was done and then she could leave. But they almost made her stay with her abuser and work with him. And the fact that they think that's okay is just messed up. So that is another instance of something like that happening. I know that Fifth Harmony, I'm not a big fan of them, but I know constantly in interviews they're saying how stuck they felt in their record label and how they felt like they were made to do things. They couldn't write, they couldn't do this, and as soon as it was over or they went solo, they felt so free and so good and they can do what they want. And the fact that they felt so afraid in their label, and like, I think one of them, I don't know the names, but she always says that she felt like a bird in a cage, and then once it was all over, she was set free. And the fact that people think this in their labels is ridiculous and shows that there's something wrong. But the thing is, a lot of the labels don't care. It's about the money. If these artists are making records and they are making a lot of money, and that's good for them, so they write all these complicated contracts that people don't understand. I think that a lot of artists think that the only way into the industry is through a record label. And yes, it is a good way, but there are other ways. And also, it doesn't mean you have to be in a contract that is gonna mess you up and with people that are gonna screw you over in a few years when you're making millions of dollars. And being abusive. Like, personally, I think putting the hard work in and trying to get there without a label is, although it's harder, at least you don't have to go through the struggle and pain of having a contract not be what you expect and going through all that. That does not sound good, and it happens more often than you think. So definitely, if you're thinking of signing a contract, then read it. I know a lot of people say this, again, people from Fifth Harmony always say, read your contracts, get 5 different lawyers, make sure you know what is in that contract and what it involves and who owns the music, because that's also important. Obviously, a lot of people are saying that Taylor is overreacting and that she's got enough money already, she doesn't need to profit off this, and that's true. She does have a lot of money and she probably doesn't need it, but that's not the point. It's the point of putting so much hard work into what you do and someone else having it. That is just not ideal. It would be upsetting. Also, the fact that these men are just rude, plain rude, greedy, and honestly just want money, and they're benefiting off of her hard work. I just really hope that this kind of gets sorted out, or there's some way that she can either get her music back or re-release it. I know there's a petition going around for her to re-release her albums, but I don't know how she would go about that because they own the songs. So it's like legally, I don't know that she can do that. But hopefully it does, something gets sorted out, because it is very frustrating. And just a tip, read your contracts. If you're going into something, whether it be the music industry or whatever, but especially if it's a record label, read them, know them back to front, know what everything means, and know if you own your own music. Because like I said, there have been many artists I've seen who have wanted to release music, but they're not allowed to because their label says they can't. And I think artists should be able to do what they want with their music, their art. The music industry is just more, it seems more like a business and greed more than art, which it shouldn't be about. It should be about sharing art. So definitely also go read about this more, because like I said, I don't know all the facts, and it's definitely interesting to read. So I will try and find a few links to a few of the information things I read. So definitely go check below. This has been a bit of a mess of a video, but that's how I feel, because I am just so like angered by this and confused, and just I don't understand how someone could be that greedy. Like, money would be great, yes, but it's just, I don't know.